Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. In today's top stories, Budweiser has dropped nearly 30% in sales. Amazing to think that this boycott is actually working, which is irritating the establishment uniparty, the progressives, and the left, because of course they're always either planning boycotts or engaged in them, and they aren't nearly as successful as what is happening today when normal, everyday, regular Americans say no to wokeness.
We start things off from NBC News. Nobody imagined it would go on this long. Bud Light sales continue to plummet over Mulvaney backlash. The controversy, now nearing its third month, has turned off a broader customer group than just those who characterize themselves as conservatives. And this is very significant to point out here. This is the target audience that the establishment uniparty, the left, and the progressives are the most concerned about when it comes to 2024. Those undecided type voters, those individuals who normally do not get involved in these sorts of boycotts or political activism of any kind, but it is spilling over into the general populace, regular everyday Americans, and this is hugely, hugely concerning for Democrats. Sales of Bud Light continue to plummet, reflecting ongoing backlash to the brand's decision to hire influencer Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson. According to data cited by the beverage industry trade publication Beer Business Daily, sales volumes of Bud Light for the week ending May 13th sank 28.4, extending a downward trend from the 27.7 decline seen the week before. At a time of profound cultural and political division in the U.S., light beer drinkers simply don't want to be drawn into another debate about values, said Beer Business Daily editor-publisher Harry Schumacher. Of course they don't want to be involved, and I think that's a lot of what has been happening. You know, so much of the right, so much of the left continually battle for those people in the middle. Most people don't care about this issue and don't want to get roped into a conversation, Schumacher said. Therefore, they're not going to buy the beer. So you have all of these kind of politically fatigued individuals in the middle who realize a product was used to then introduce a ideology, philosophy, or worldview mostly known for progressivism and on the left, although there are plenty of gay people, LGBTQ people that are conservative, that are on the right, that are not involved in these sorts of, activism that a lot of their peers on the left do. But I think it may be fair to say that clearly we know that when the lines line up, we can see that this is typically something that is usually pushed by the left, as we see just across the board in many different things when it comes to, for example, Drag Queen Story Hour and those sorts of things that are not very popular. But this boycott, for example, or these boycotts, particularly also with Target, are having an impact which has the Democrats and the left and progressives incredibly concerned. Now, we're going to jump over here to Fox Business. Bud Light sales down nearly 30% compared to 2022 after partnership with influencer. So as you can see here, it really depends on what particular media site you go to based upon the numbers. And of course, they're just rounding off. Of course, we saw there on NBC, they're going to go with like the lowest numbers possible. So sales volume of Bud Light dropped 29.5% in the week ending May 20th as compared to the same period last year, according to data provided to Newsweek by Bump Williams Consulting and Nielsen IQ. This data showed the sales revenue dropped 25.7 in the same period. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't emphasize the significance of how important this is because I have seen a tweet from a former Anheuser-Busch employee who worked in marketing and sales and so forth, someone high up the chain, saying that they spent nearly 20 years trying to get the product to where it was up in the top, up in the top echelon of beer. And for this particular incident to happen with Dylan Mulvaney, who was sent basically just a packet from Anheuser-Busch to kind of film themselves, which is what he did as an influencer. And that's exactly what he is. He's an influencer. This whole trans thing he's doing, even according to the LGBTQ, is more of an act than anything else to garner views and, of course, influence on his various social media pages, like Twitter and, well, not necessarily Twitter, but Instagram and TikTok. But it's interesting how they don't mention TikTok here. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light's parent company, has struggled financially and boycotts after it partnered with Dylan Mulvaney, as we all know all this part here. The nearly 30% drop marks another increase in losses week to week since the boycott gained traction in April. I'm not sure why I said traction. Bud Light sales dropped 28.4 from last year from the week ending May 13th. So it's been really a huge, gigantic disaster. And the thing that a lot of people are talking about is how Anheuser-Busch is not apologizing. They're simply not apologizing. They're doubling down, they're tripling down, they're quadrupling down, even as we mentioned yesterday, even teaming up with Harley Davidson to kind of bring a more masculine tone to it, because they lost all these people, because basically just in direct language to you, they just see Bud Light now as a sort of gay beer. And it's almost like kind of shameful to be having it and whatnot. Anheuser-Busch has struggled with losses from its other products as well, such as Michelob Ultra, which fell 6.8 from the week ending May 13th. Its competitors such as Coors Light and Miller Lite have seen sales increase 16.9 and 15.1 over the same period. So it's having a huge impact. And as we mentioned earlier, this impact is really alarming. It is really frightening to the left. It is incredibly terrifying to Democrats and incredibly terrifying to the established uniparty, who needs these center people, these disinterested people, these non-activist type, politically aligned individuals that are concerning these individuals. And of course, here from Mian Miles Chung, this is an individual from MSNBC talking about the boycotting of Target. You're literally, obviously a word I can't say here, says talking head of MSNBC. So they're essentially what happens, as you guys know, if you're new to the channel, basically what we talk about is how the left presumes that everyone is just dumber than they are. And if you don't fall in line with the left's ideology, philosophy, or worldview, you're just dumb. You don't understand. You have the wrong opinion and you have wrong think. You need to be in line with them because they know better. They know what opinions you should have. They know what thoughts you should have. And of course, they absolutely know who you should be voting for. But the reality is, when common sense, rational, cogent, sober-minded people see these things, they realize, they don't want to affiliate with this stuff. They don't want to be part of this stuff, particularly when it comes to the reality of the fact that Dylan Mulvaney's target audience that he caters to on his social media are tweens and teens. So, of course, Budweiser is looking for the future, obviously looking for future customers, but also we have, the whole transgender storybook hour and these sorts of things. And, of course, we know the cancellation of various parades and Gay Pride Month coming up there in Florida, as DeSantis was simply just directing individuals that children cannot be involved in this stuff, because the whole entire essence of it for me is I have no particular issues with grown adult human beings engage in consenting activity that they themselves engage in. My concern is when children are involved. And why are children now suddenly the target of a lot of this, either whether it's beer, whether it's story hour, whether it's any of this? Why are they suddenly the target? Now, I am not suggesting that parents should do this, that, or the other based upon my particular values and ideology, philosophy, and worldview. I'm just saying, let's think about the children, as the left always likes to say. Let's think about their mindset. These aren't things that they normally think about. These aren't things that are part of their lifestyle as children. They're developing, they're growing, they're learning. And I just think that this is just a way of introducing people, say, for example, to newer products or ideas and concepts that they just really aren't ready to grasp. And as I mentioned here in this tweet, funny, the leftists are offended by their own tactics. So you see, when I say things like they think you're dumber, they just presume that everyone's dumber than they are. They don't realize that people can see what they're doing. They don't realize that people can see the absurdity of the way they approach these things with their ideology, with their philosophy, and their worldview, because if you don't understand them or you don't agree with them, you're just dumb. You're obviously a bigot because you don't want to conform to the ideology, philosophy, worldview. You're inflexible. You're unreasonable. And it's just absolutely extraordinary. And I know a few people have mentioned this particular tweet from Dylan Mulvaney. Y'all be playing by, he says, y'all be played by Miss 5 O'Clock Shadow. Dylan Mulvaney comes out as straight, saying that, he wanted to date women and so forth and so on. Now, I don't know what his play here is, but this is yet another example, ladies and gentlemen, Dylan Mulvaney just continuing to draw in the hook, trying to get those views, trying to get those clicks, trying to salvage himself from the disaster that he put himself in, or Budweiser kind of manipulated him into. But this is the trap that you can fall into as an influencer. You got to be very careful as an influencer and a content creator as to what you do. But nonetheless, guys, that's what I have for you guys today on this, and I am grateful that this is continuing to work. It needs to work. So appearing there on the screen, that would be the channel icon you guys can click on if you're watching here on YouTube, and you can click notifications. So I want to thank all you guys here on YouTube as well as New Tech, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.